Have you ever wondered if your ex was a narcissist and whether he really knew what he was doing? I'm going to answer that question in a moment, but also explain why it really doesn't matter whether they're a narcissist or not. I'm Laura, a somatic coach, and I help women rebuild self-trust after toxic relationships. If you're stuck in your head overanalyzing your relationship, trying to find evidence for whether your ex was a narcissist or not, I want to tell you that it really doesn't matter, that label doesn't excuse any of their behaviour. If you see me looking down, it's not because I don't know what I'm saying, it's because I go off on a lot of tangents and I want to try and keep on track. What was I saying? Yeah, so this is like a really normal question, and I asked it myself as well after my relationship, because what happens after emotional abuse is it's such a slow brainwashing over time. So it's not just like one cut, it's tiny little cuts over and over again. And you usually don't see it until the wound is so big that we realize something went terribly wrong in that relationship. And because it isn't actually physical abuse and it's emotional and you can't see it, we need the label to justify the pain. And I don't know why that is completely, but from my own experience, when I came out of it, I felt like because it wasn't physical and it wasn't violent, and because I couldn't properly see it happening, like things like silent treatment or gaslighting, I didn't feel justified in how bad I was feeling. So if I could get a label to describe what he was, an abuser, a narcissist, if I could get confirmation that that's what he was, then I was justified in feeling how I was, which makes total sense, because after abuse, we don't trust our opinion or our judgment. We're so shocked how we got someone so terribly wrong that we can't believe that we ended up with someone like that, that they said that they loved us and they were abusing us. It's such a brain fuck that when we come out of it, we hold on to this label to almost give ourselves permission to feel the way we do. And that label doesn't matter. And you're never going to get it anyway, because narcissists are not self-reflective. They don't take accountability. They don't see what they've done as wrong. So to even get them diagnosed and sitting in front of a therapist, something would have to go terribly wrong in their life to end up in that situation. So just forget the diagnosis altogether. It doesn't matter. What you really need to look at is, was their behaviour harmful, and did it affect you and make you feel worse about yourself? That's all that matters at the end of the day, is did someone make you feel worse than what you were like before them? The other reason we might want that label as well is to almost, I think this is when we're trying to still understand the relationship and we're not quite ready to end the relationship or step away from the relationship, that if we find out that they weren't intentionally hurting us and they never meant to hurt us, then it almost justifies going back to try and make it work. And it makes you realize that it wasn't your fault, that, oh, they can't help it. He cheated on me, or he was aggressive with me because it's out of his control and he wasn't able to do anything about that. That's just his personality. That's how he is. And obviously, if we think they can't help it, it also plays into the empathy side of it, because we want to help people improve, especially if you're a people pleaser or an empath, man. We just want the best for everyone. And if we know that we can maybe fix them, then the relationship might still have grounds to work. If it does feel unintentional, then we can forgive them, and then we can maybe make the relationship work. And sometimes that feels easier, staying in what you know to be familiar, than to actually leave and start completely afresh with the unknown. From a neuroscience perspective, your brain would much rather you stayed in that abusive relationship, because it's helped you survive for so long. It knows what it's doing. It's predictable. Whereas if you step away from that relationship and have to start all over again, maybe even move towns, make new friends, get a new job, whatever the circumstances, that is way more terrifying from a survival perspective, because you're contending with the unknown. We don't know if that's going to work out or not. And because we're primed to see the negative in everything, we're more likely to think it's going to be worse. So keeping yourself in that toxic relationship is easier to plan for, because we've developed really great coping mechanisms and we've adapted to the up and down situation. We know how to survive that. But the thing with most abusive people is they can't change because they're not aware they need to change. And when it comes to intentionality and us trying to pinpoint whether they're doing what they're doing deliberately or not is they're not treating everyone badly. Take your circle of friends, for example. I know a lot of my friends, when I don't know why I'm laughing, none of it is funny. I think that's my way of coping about it. But I know when I understood my ex for what he was and understood the behaviours more and how awful he treated me, and I was in that stage of trying to like warn everyone about him and convince them that he was this terrible person, I think everyone thought I was fucking mad, and they didn't believe me because they hadn't seen that side of him. They hadn't been in an intimate relationship with him to see what he was capable of. So that is evidence in itself that they're not treating everyone the same, because you've got this one experience and they've got a completely different experience. And even if you talk about red flag behavior, for example, when you're first dating them and getting to know each other, there's usually some like off little moment that they treat someone disposable to them, perhaps a waiter, a receptionist, but you'll see them blow up at this person, treat them really badly and just turn away and pretend like nothing happened and go back to you as normal. That is showing that they are choosing to behave like that with these different people that they won't see again, that they just don't care about how they treat them. But then they've also got careers and jobs and maybe friends in high places, and they're in those places and they must be treating those people in a certain way to not be fired or to not have their friends drop them. Obviously, again, different narcissists act different in different places. Some are really social creatures, some are lone wolves, some move from place to place, that they are very transient and have friends in all these different places, and maybe they're not in that place for long enough to even have a close relationship with someone. But what I'm really saying is that the way they treat you is a choice. There is some level of consciousness to their behavior. They might not necessarily know why they're doing it, and they've probably normalized it for so long that they can't see any problems in their patterns of behavior, but they are choosing to treat you in a certain way versus not treating their friend in that same way. So their behavior isn't out of control, it's selective, and they choose people that they know will forgive them over and over again, that they can weaponize their empathy against them, make you feel sorry for them. Like, they're very attuned to people's reactions because that's how they gauge how to react. They feed off people's emotions and reactions. But either way, whether they're conscious of their behavior or not, it doesn't matter, because abusive behavior, whether physical or emotional, is unacceptable. Someone ignoring you for 8 hours a day or for 3 days or for a week and making you go crazy wondering where they are, trying to get them to communicate with you, is abusive. That is crazy making behavior. It drives you fucking insane. So instead of trying to decipher whether your ex was a narcissist or not, just look at the behaviors that make up a narcissist. So see a narcissist as a personality style. Like, we have shy people, we have extroverted people, we have introverted people, we have positive, happy people. And these types of people, we all have a collection of behaviors. Same goes for narcissists. So look at the behaviors that narcissists are demonstrating. Are they grandiose? Are they unempathetic? Are they quick to burst into rage? Do they intimidate you? Do they make you feel confused? So look at the collection of behaviors that they exhibit, but also look at the feelings that you're experiencing. Because if you're feeling lots of these negative emotions around these people, and say, for example, you go out with friends and you come back feeling really uplifted, and then you spend an evening with your partner and feel really drained, that's a noticeable difference in how one person is really affecting you compared to another person. So ignore the label, look at the behaviors and look at the feelings that you are dealing with when you're with this person, and how you feel afterwards, how you feel after the relationship. Because if you've had a breakup before, a normal breakup, you'll notice there's a massive difference between an abusive relationship breakup versus a normal breakup. An abusive relationship breakup is so much worse, because you're not just dealing with a breakup, you're dealing with the aftermath of being abused. And more often than not, you're dealing with the shock of learning that you were in an abusive relationship. So yeah, let the label guide you to understand your experience, but don't worry about diagnosing them, because you're not going to get that information. In the same way you didn't get closure for why the relationship ended, you won't get closure on whether they were a narcissist or not, and that's just part of what you have to accept at the end of it. It's fucked that we have to, but the more attention you put on them, the less attention there is on you and your own healing. And that's what you want to move away from, obsessing over what they did to you and whether they're a narcissist or not, and start looking at those behaviors affected me in these ways. I feel awful because of this. I need to do something about this, and start putting the focus onto you and what you can control and what you are able to heal. So don't get hung up on the diagnosis and focus on your healing instead. Because the real shift happens when you start understanding yourself, understanding the behaviors, and then learning how to start protecting yourself from those set of behaviors in future. Because then you can build more discernment and spot these types of manipulative people quicker than what you did the time before. That's what we're hoping to get to, because you're not going to be able to prevent meeting another narcissist. They're fucking everywhere. But you can control how you respond to them, how long you stay in those situations, how quickly you pick up on these things, by learning to tune in to your own needs and your wants and your feelings. What is an off feeling about someone versus what's a old past reminder or a trauma pattern that we're living in. Start trying to figure out yourself and who you are and what you want from a relationship, and turn your attention away from them. They've already wasted so much of your time already. Don't let them waste any more. And the great thing about this is that you don't need to know whether they're a narcissist to heal or not. It doesn't matter. You can still get on with the healing work without getting that answer, because otherwise you're just pausing your healing and waiting around for someone else to give you permission to heal. You just need to understand what happened in that relationship, how it damaged you, and how to start undoing the damage it left in your nervous system and in your brain, so that you can start rewiring yourself for safer, healthier relationships. And if after this explanation you're still wondering and questioning whether the behaviors you experienced were abusive or not, I'll leave a link to my 50 red flags of a narcissist checklist, which sounds like a really overwhelming number, and you do not need to tick every single checkbox on that list to confirm that it was abuse, because the most important thing is recognizing whether their behaviors were consistent. Was there a pattern to their treatment? So what this checklist does is it introduces you to what red flags you might be looking for in the love bombing, idealizing stage, to the devaluing stage where they start treating you like shit, and then the discard, withdrawing stage, and then hoovering if you're unlucky to be pulled back into the cycle again. So this checklist gives you examples of their behavior so that you can learn and understand it and know how to describe your experience and put language to it. And you can download it for free. Sometimes just seeing it in black and white is enough for you. You don't need to get them a diagnosis that confirms that your experience was real. I'm telling you it was real because you're watching this video.